So interesting thing has happened in Turkey. They've got elections coming up in a couple of days, but it turns out the foreign minister, who you're looking at there in our graphic, along with several important other members of the Turkish government, the intelligence chief and the deputy head of the armed forces, were caught on a call where they were talking about, believe it or not, a false flag operation. They were talking about bringing in missiles to the Syrian side of the border and then firing them into Turkey, and then using that as a pretext to attacking Syria. And they said, well, that's one alternative. The other alternative is to go in and attack a Turkish position that by international law is actually inside the borders of Syria. Now, but it's Turkish property, like an embassy would be, right? And they said we could attack that position and pretend that it was the Syrians, or even that it was Al-Qaeda. And we'll say that it was terrorism, and when we say that it's terrorism, the whole world will unite behind us. Oh boy. So that is obviously devastating to know that that is among the things that they considered planning to do, and it gives you insight into how some governments across the world act. And by the way, to be fair, George Bush considered a similar strategy before the Iraq War. We found out that he thought about painting a UN plane and having the Iraqis fire at it, and then who say, oh my God, they fired at a UN plane, not caring about who's inside the plane, by the way, and then use that as a pretext for attacking Iraq. Because of leaks, we find out that the US government was considering that. So apparently there are many governments who consider such options. So it's an eye-opener. Now, of course, the Turkish government says these tapes are doctored, they are horrible, and they're sent in by the enemy. And you have to understand something about the context of this. The Turkish government lately, run by Prime Minister Erdogan, has been besieged by a whole series of tapes that were leaked that shows wide-scale corruption. And one of them, the Prime Minister is talking to his son, telling him how to take millions of dollars out of the country, right? And the son's a bit of a knucklehead, and he's like, but Dad, I took all the money out. How else can I hide more money? And the Prime Minister keeps saying on the tapes, is your sister at home? I tried to talk to the sister who's a little bit more sensible and knows how to hide the money better. Now, of course, then again, Prime Minister Erdogan said those tapes are doctored. I know, they're all doctored, right? And look, I actually don't have a dog in this fight, meaning that I'm against corruption. That's obvious, right? I'm against these kind of plans. If they are true, they are hideous. But the people fighting against the Prime Minister is a set of people actually that are based in the US. It's a Muslim cleric named Fethullah Gulen. He's even more right-wing and more fundamentalist than the Prime Minister is. There are no winners here, okay? And he has control over a lot of the police and the judiciary in Turkey, and he's been using that. Did he use that to tape the Prime Minister and these important ministers in the government? Entirely possible, right? I'm not on any of their sides. But if these tapes are true, and so far they have not been confirmed, although they're talking over one another in the tapes, they seem incredibly real, right? But if they are true, they are devastating. Now, Bloomberg Businessweek describes it this way. He says, the purported recording included Davutoglu, that's the foreign minister, allegedly discussing an attack against Islamist militants who have threatened the tomb of Süleyman Shah, that's the Turkish property inside Syria, a monument that's on the Turkish territory inside Syria under international agreements. This is a reference to the false flag operation. We'll attack our own shrine, pretending the Syrians or Al-Qaeda attacked it. Now, if you do that right before an election, might you get a little bit of a rallying around the flag? Oh my God, this government is protecting us from the terrorists. We should definitely vote in their favor. So that would be the plan. Now, of course, the interesting part is how Turkey has responded. They say that, first of all, the opposition party says this is obviously, quote, preparing provocations. They're pretending to get provoked and then attack Syria in order to get votes. So that's what the opposition says. Now let's go to the government. Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish prime minister, says we'll go after them in their layers. So who are they going to go after? Well, they can't go after Gülen, the Muslim cleric I told you about. He's in Pennsylvania. Okay. They did go after a lot of judges and cops. They fired thousands of them. Okay. Now, could they have fired prosecutors and judges that were actually honest people looking to investigate them? Possibly. Could they have fired some of the people who are actually supporters of Gülen? Also possible, right? Again, no winners in that fight, okay? They're both fundamentalist Muslims, both right-wing, and both obviously willing to use a lot of tricks to wield power in a way that seems less than democratic. Now, the Turkish foreign minister in this case said that this was, quote, a declaration of war. So, well, who are they declaring war against, and who are they fighting back against? Well, Turkey, a little while ago, blocked Twitter. Got him. Okay, what did Twitter do? I don't know if you know this, Twitter is not a person. Twitter was not plotting against you. That's simply where the tapes appeared. Now, today, they blocked YouTube, because the latest tapes were on YouTube. But look, you can block Twitter and you can block YouTube, and obviously they have a lot of the Turkish media under control. In fact, that was part of the tapes that were released. One of the largest newspaper editors is on the tape with the prime minister, and the prime minister says, why don't you take care of the guy who criticized my government? The guy says, oh, yes, yes, please, please, I'll fire him. And then he starts to cry. Oh, it's so sad. It's pathetic, right? So they've controlled the traditional media, as, by the way, a lot of governments, including the US, has found a way to control the traditional media here, right? Now, the problem is the new media, and it's really hard to control. So Turkey has now blocked Twitter, and of course, a lot of Turks have found ways around that. In fact, immediately after Twitter was blocked, Twitter traffic in Turkey increased. Turks are very resourceful people. It's hard to keep them down. So now they blocked YouTube. My guess is they will find a way around that as well. But how many more things are you going to block? You can block Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr. To paraphrase Churchill, we shall fight you on Instagram, we shall fight you on Facebook, we shall fight you on Tumblr, but we shall never surrender. The thing is, you can't block the truth. New media is just a new way of getting that truth to your people, in this case, the Turkish people. So you might win elections in the short run, and you might be able to suppress the media in the short run. But in the long run, the truth always catches up to you.